Okay, so we're going live here today with Nate Witt. So every week, in case you're brand new to our Facebook group, Sales Revolution, every week on every Wednesday, we go live with a client from a completely different industry. Can you hear me okay, Nate? I've got some static here. Can you hear me okay? All right.
Yeah,
So
I can hear you all right.
we go live every week with a new client from a different industry, some B2C, some B2B, some even B2G, business to government, business to business, and business to consumer. And what we do is we break down their sales process and we find out in their what they do is they drop some golden nuggets for each of you that you can take to your industry if you want to sell more. Okay. So right now, we're going live here in our YouTube channel. We're especially going live here in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. I think there's about 64,000 of you run around in there. That thing's growing fast. We're also going live on the Facebook business page. There's about 90 some thousand of you on there. We're going live on my personal Facebook, and we're going live on LinkedIn. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to break down Nate's sales process. He's agreed to throw out some golden nuggets. And the cool thing is, and here's the thing that I usually do. I typically, this is the first time I've ever interviewed a client that wasn't in the training for at least 90 to 120 days. Okay. This gentleman has only been in the training, NEPQ, Advanced NEPQ 3.0 for 24 days. Let me repeat that 24 days. And we're going to talk about how he's more than tripled his commissions in 24 days and what he's learned from NEPQ 3.0. And he's going to give you some of that knowledge. I'm going to help him with you guys so you can use that to sell more of your products and services for your industry as well. Now, if you are brand new to the Facebook group or you just started seeing some of our YouTube videos or LinkedIn or whatever, because we give little nibbles there, little nibbles and stuff. My name is Jeremy Miner. I'm the founder of Seventh Level. Now, I'm traveling for this week and next week. I'm at my lake house on Lake of the Ozarks. You'll have a little bit of a different background. I'm actually working in the kitchen here. This is a small lake house. It's not a huge mansion or anything like some of you might think I have here at the lake, but it's a good size just to hang out and have some fun with the kids. So I have a different background for the next couple of weeks, and I'll be back to our Scottsdale office after that. Now, as the founder of Seventh Level, we're an organization that trains salespeople exactly like you watching me here today. Okay, so we train salespeople like you. We train sales professionals like you, sales executives like you, sales management like you, sales leadership, entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, consultants, doesn't matter. Every industry on the planet so far, except the underwater basket weaving industry. You guys know somebody in that industry? Let us know. But what we do is we train you how to learn specific skilled questions and techniques that work with human behavior rather than work against it. What do I mean when I say that? If you've seen me on ads, you've seen me on Instagram or YouTube, I talk a lot about are the questions you've been taught, the tone you've been taught to use when you're talking with your prospects. Are you sure it's working with human behavior? Could it be triggering sales resistance? Could it be causing your prospects to put up their wall and try to get rid of you, throw out objections, stay surface level with you? So we train you what's called NEPQ. That stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questions. Now, we have to teach you the right tone. Okay. If you're one of our clients, you know all about advanced tonality, like Nate is starting to learn here. Okay. Because there's certain questions in your sales process that require more of a curious tone. John, can you walk me through what you guys are using? See, that's a curious tone. There's other questions in your sales process that are going to require far more of a challenging or skeptical tone. What are the consequences if you don't do anything about this? See, that's a challenging tone. And there's other certain questions in your sales process you're going to ask in more of a concern tone, a tone that shows empathy. What's really holding you back? See, that's a concern tone. So how do you know how to use your tone to influence your prospects to open up and tell you the truth of what's really going on? Okay. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Okay. Now, if you want to start acquiring skills like Nate and tens of thousands of our other clients, many of them are in the same industry as you, watching me here on this broadcast, wherever you're watching me from, whatever channel. You want to start making your first 10 grand a month in commissions, your first 15,000 every month. Your first 20,000 every month, which Nate has now surpassed. Your first 25, 30, 40,000 every month or more in what you are selling now, message me directly right now. If you're in the Facebook group, LinkedIn, my Facebook, the business page, message me directly right now. If you're on YouTube, you'll have to join our Facebook group to message me. It's on a banner right here. Nate, do you have some background noise here, or is that me?
I might, yeah. I live next to an Air Force base, so
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, I thought it was my mic. Air Force Base, that makes complete sense. So
I tune it out now that I've lived here for a
if
while.
you
But
guys
yes,
are on YouTube, make sure you join the salesrevolution.pro to message me on that. That's our Facebook group. There's a banner in purple running right through the screen here where you can join that for free. All right. Now, here's what I want each of you to do. I want each of you to grab your phone before I break down Nate's sales process. Go grab your phone. I know each of you are on your phone more than likely. And I want you to go smash the heart button. And I want you to smash the like button. Hey, Ronald. Hey, Rich Bub. Hey, Jared. Halima, Kevin. There's a ton of you on here. A couple of your Facebook users. I can't see. Mike. Okay, I see your name. So go smash the heart button, smash the like button. I better see hundreds of smashed hearts and hundreds of smash likes. Otherwise, I'm just going to go out in the balcony here at the lake house. I'm going to make myself a nice coffee and just chill out the rest of the day. It's very relaxing here on the water. So smash the heart button, smash the like button. I want each of you, if you're on the live right now, go post hashtag live. So if you're on the live right now, go post hashtag live. And if you're on the replay, go post hashtag replay. All right, Nate, let's go ahead and get started because nobody cares about me. They selfishly only care about themselves. They're human beings. Okay, so this is kind of this is the first time I've ever done this. I had one of our account executives reach out and say, hey, would you be willing to interview this new guy? He hasn't even been in the training for 25 days, but he's already almost quadrupled his income. And I said earlier, I'm like, well, let's interview him in like 3 or 4 months because let's see where he's at then. But they're like, no, just interview him now. Okay, so Nate, when did you get into I think you got in, I talked to you for a couple of minutes, you got into our advanced NEPQ 3.0 program. What date?
so it was April 1st.
Of this year?
Yep.
Okay, so 25 days ago. Okay,
That's
and what, from what I understand from you, you're in the medical device industry, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long have you been selling medical device?
Just over a year.
Okay, tell me what you were doing before that. You were in a completely different sales job industry, which is very interesting. What did you
Yeah, I was doing door to door with pest control. So
okay, so you were selling door-to-door pest control for how long?
I did that for about 4 years.
And how old are you now?
I'm 25.
Okay, so you're fairly young. You typically people that are in door-to-door pest control, home security, late teens, early 20s, and then kind of
Yeah.
transition out of it, right? Even if you're doing well. Okay,
Yeah.
so what caused you to want to switch industries? Because you're talking about going from door to door to medical device. You're talking, you couldn't be any further as far as industries,
Yeah.
those two industries for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I did. You might not be aware of this, but in my 17-year sales career, my first 4.5 years were in door-to-door home security. And then I left that and got into B2B debt relief services, mainly SMB, some Fortune 1000. Okay, completely different industry. Okay, completely different sales process. What caused you to want to switch like that?
Yeah, it was really stressful. The work load that was involved with that wasn't really sustainable.
Okay.
It was 10 to 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
knocking doors in the middle of the
Well, you
summer.
know why? Because they teach you like numbers game, just knock hundreds of doors to make a few
Yep.
sales, right? It's always the ABCs of close, start assuming from 10 seconds in, which triggers a lot of sales resistance, right? I come from the same ball game. I understand it. Now, you got into B2B or you got into like medical device. And well, those sales skills you took from door to door, how did they transition into medical device?
Not well. It was pretty difficult just because it's a different, it's a higher ticket item, and so people are a little bit more um, resistant if you're trying to bully them or just overcome objections to the point where they
Yeah.
can only say yes, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
So
so you're like, okay, and I think I understand you were making like what, 1 or 2 sales a month the last year before NEPQ?
yeah,
Okay. And with your comp plan, I think you mentioned you're around, I thought it was 4 or 5 grand a month, but I think it's around 6 or so, right?
yeah,
Okay. So you're making around 6 grand a month. Now that's 70 some thousand a year. A lot of people be like, hey, I'm good. I can survive off, 70, 75,000 a year. What was going on in your mind a month ago where you're like, man, I need to acquire more skills. I need to sell more. I need to make more money. What was that
Yeah.
thought process that went through your mind rather than just settling where you're at?
Right. Well, it's kind of two things. So I've always wanted to make more and be able to, make the income that I wanted to. I knew sales was kind of the avenue to do
Uh-huh.
that. So obviously have that vision of what I want to do with my life and my family.
Yeah.
But there's also the company that I got hired on had a quota of about 4 to 5 sales a month, and they wanted to grow and scale, and they wanted me to kind of spearhead that.
Okay.
And so I wasn't hitting quota.
So doing 1 to 2 a month was not
Right.
obviously getting you to 4 to 5 a month. It's a higher ticket
Yeah.
item, right? You're talking about 17 to 20,000 per item that you're selling.
Yeah.
And that's kind of even a low ticket item really for medical device with all the
Yeah.
medical device companies that we train. Some of them are, they're selling, stuff that's like hundreds of
Yeah.
thousands of
Six
dollars per
figures.
per unit, sometimes seven figures. Okay, so first of all, how did you find us at some level?
Yeah. So that's my boss Benjamin. He actually was following me on Instagram, getting a few, as you say, like golden
A
nuggets
few
here and there.
tips. Okay.
Yeah. So we were kind of like, hacking our way through it, trying to figure out which questions. We're like, yeah, we know that that makes sense to us, trying to figure it out.
Okay.
And then eventually I was like, well, I feel like I just need to dive in and invest a little
So
bit into myself. And
So what caused you? Because we have hundreds of thousands of followers on IG or whatever. We just started that channel like 16 months ago, and there's almost 400,000 followers. But
yeah,
so a lot of them are just getting the freebie stuff. What
right.
caused you to be like, you know what? I need to learn everything. I'm not gonna just try to figure all this out and probably take decades to figure out what Jeremy's talking about.
Yeah. Well, I thought of it this way. I thought there's not really any sales training out there. Most companies don't train their sales reps. If they do, it's just product and training. And so I was like, yeah, if I'm gonna, and everybody needs to be constantly training at whatever profession they're at. And
Well, if you want to be at the top, you would, right?
right, if you want to do it,
Want to
if you
be
want to do good,
average, if you want to be average or below average, you don't need to train at all. It's just like athletes, right?
right,
You want to
yeah,
be an average athlete, well, you just kind of go to practice here and there, and your career stops at high school. You
right,
want to take it up a notch, you're going to practice a little bit more. Maybe you play ball in college, but to get up to the pro leagues, talking like the top 1% of the 1% earners, they're
mhm,
practicing all the time, and that's why they're at the top. The same could possibly be true for salespeople as well.
possibly,
Okay. So you're like, okay, I need to get the goods. You
yeah.
got, why did you pick advanced NEPQ 3.0 compared to just starting at our basic stuff, which is like NEPQ 2.0?
Shane, my account manager, he kind of suggested that would be in my best interest,
And why did he feel like it was in your mind? Well,
based off the stuff that I was
tell
telling him.
me
So
why you feel it was, though.
yeah, you're right. The questions he was asking me got me to open up about what I wanted to do with my career and with my sales and the goals that I wanted to hit. And so
Yeah.
based off of what he was able to understand about what
Yeah.
I wanted, then he was able to fit with
So
me.
that's our advanced portal. That's 39 hours plus the what, 7 or 8 training calls we have each week
Yeah.
with myself doing one of them and our trainers doing the other, advanced tonality, advanced objection handling, all that stuff. So you got in, you've only been in 25 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've more than tripled your income,
Yeah.
but I know in 25 days, you're not going to master everything.
Right.
I just know, I understand how the brain works, how it soaks up knowledge.
Mhm.
What's been some few key, like some big things you've taken away from the portal and the group training with our trainers and myself that have propelled you to almost quadruple your income in less than 30 days? Because you're talking about you went from 6 grand each month, and now this month you're over 21, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about more than tripling, and you don't even know what you're doing yet. I can tell.
Right.
I
Yeah.
know because you're less than 30 days. I know you like know like 1 or 2% right now. But
Right.
what are like 3 big things you've taken away from the train so far that have already tripled your income?
Yeah, I think the biggest has been knowing the right questions to build the gap between where they're at now and where they want to be.
Why is that so important?
Because if they don't see that, if you can't help find that problem, with them, then there's not going to be a need or any kind of urgency.
There's
And they
zero.
will,
Yeah.
what's that?
There's hardly any urgency. So unless they're a lay down sale, they're not going to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, if there's no urgency, I'm usually chasing them or following up for a year and not
Yeah.
hearing back.
So
So
what most people have been taught, we're talking 99.9% of salespeople walking on the planet. And look, it's none of your guys' fault that you were taught those things, but it is your what? Well, it's your problem. Not your fault, but it is your problem because it affects your sales, right? So most everybody watching me on here in our Facebook group, clients before, they were taught that you needed to do all the work. You needed to pressure. You needed to push. You need to always be closing. You need to always be objection handling. You need to chase and follow up. What we're shifting your perspective to is how the brain works with human beings. And we're teaching you, you're starting to learn this from the virtual training course that you're going through, plus all the group training with their trainers. You're now starting to learn how to get the prospects to do all the work. You're starting to learn how to get the prospects to pull you in. You're starting to learn how to get the prospect to sell yourself. Now, I know you're new into the training, less than 30 days, but just some of those things, how are you starting to notice your prospects are reacting to you compared to how they used to treat you before?
yeah, way different.
Okay.
You mean you used to get doors slammed in your face, or figuratively just hanging up the phone, or they would treat you like a salesperson. And one, I shift, being taught how to shift the conversation to focus on them and what they want, then they start to trust you a lot more. They start to
Yeah.
actually tell you what their real problems are, which is a whole different, ball game for me. It used to be like, yeah, my problem or my objection is I need to talk to my wife about it, or I need to do this or that. But really, getting to the actual core of what they want, which
Yeah.
is generally making more money
So
or
the
more free.
gap can only be built by how much that prospect trusts you. Now, you can't just get on sales calls and just like, how's the weather? How you doing today? And be all nice. And the prospect's just going to trust you. They know
Right.
what you're doing. They're not stupid. You got to stop acting people like your prospects are just some stupid number to you, because they're gonna smash you in the mouth. You're just not going to do the deal. Like they're going to smash you in the face if you treat them like that. Okay. So we have to come in and really in every type of sales interaction we're in, we come in, we have to learn how to get the prospect to view us that we are at least the same status as they are, right from the very first words out of our mouth, the first questions we ask. Most salespeople come in because they're overly excited, or they're too aggressive, or they're too assumptive, and they immediately lower their status in the prospect's mind. That's why they try to get rid of you guys watching me. That's why they throw out objections real quick. See, you're lowering your status automatically by words you're using or sounding needy. Oh, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this. What did you just do to the prospect's mind? You just lowered your status because their time must be way more important than yours now. So you're just lowering your status by the words you guys have been taught how to use. Can you, leaving a message and at the end of it say, can you please call me back? Well, you were taught by your parents to be polite, but when you're talking and leaving messages, can you please call me back to a prospect? They just interpret that as, well, you've got a much lower status because you're needy. You need them to call you back. See, there's no status frame there. That's called a status frame. All right. Some people talk about that. So we have to come in with that same status, and our questionability and our tone starts to get the prospect to view us step by step at a much larger status than they are with what you're conversing about. Okay. It's called situational status at that point. Okay. Even if we train salespeople that now they're crushing it and they're making 50, 60 grand a month, that are cold calling investors that are worth $50 million. So how do they establish status with somebody like that? It's called situational status. They're questioning, they ask, their tone causes the prospect, even though the prospect's billion times wealthier in that industry, to view them at a much higher status about what they're talking about. Okay, let's give them a few examples, Nate. I could go off on tangents on this for 17 days. What's a good connection question that you've learned how to ask that causes the prospect to open up more, like engage with you rather than what you used to do before.
Yeah. So I usually start with because we get a form from our website. I'll usually start with. So I guess I should ask first. What made you fill out the form in the first place?
Yeah, maybe I could just ask so I understand what caused you to reach out to us in the first place, just so I have more context. Okay, something like that. Mark said, "I'm in sales, going door to door, and I bet you can't make me a believer, Jeremy." Well, Mark, it doesn't really matter to me if you are a believer or not, because it has no impact on me if you don't acquire those skills. But we already have them. It only impacts who? Well, it only impact Mark because he doesn't have them yet. You see, my door-to-door sales career, I was the number one salesperson in the entire industry in the entire country for 3 years straight before I got out of that industry in door-to-door. Mark, I possibly know a little bit about what's going on, but that's a whole nother subject. That's before I even learned how to sell. Okay. All right, Nate. Um, what's a good situation question? Now, there's other connection questions you have to ask before and after that, right? But we don't have time to go through all those. What's a good situation question that we've taught you how to ask that really helps your prospect find out what their real situation is? Because most prospects don't even know what their real situation is when you first start talking to them.
Yeah. So I'll ask. So what are you doing now to help your clients get better?
Okay. Okay. Walk me through. What are you guys doing now? And are you making that more specific to like your industry, like what you're selling? Okay.
Yeah.
Walk me through. What are you doing right now to make sure your clients are X and Y and Z? Okay, with what you're selling, because you're talking to more. You're doing medical device, but more alternative stuff. So you're talking to more like chiropractors. You're talking to more like um, alternative. What do they call them? Alternative doctors, or what? I don't know what the
Like
exact term.
wellness practitioners.
Wellness practitioner. So it's a little bit of a different angle than we would like when we train like companies like Conformis that does knee replacement parts and other organizations like that.
Right.
Um, okay, so situation questions. After you take them through your situation questions, why are your situation questions you're asking so important for them and you?
Yeah, I got to establish that baseline with where they're at, find out what they've been doing and for how long. And then before you can, establish that gap, you have to have
Yeah,
that baseline.
you're right. Like it's impossible to build a gap to where the prospect wants to be if they don't really understand where they're at. And I hate to tell everybody this, even though your prospects might tell you they know where they're at, most do not because they don't know what they don't know. They're in the situation. They don't have an outside perspective. So they don't understand everything going on. And if you just sell to their needs, if they're just going to like, oh, I think I need this, and you start pitching that, you're doing them a really bad disservice because most prospects don't know what they need when you first start talking to them. You have to sell to the real problems that your questioning and tonality ability start to get them to view that they didn't even think they had when you first started talking to them. That's how you outsell everybody else 3 to 5 to 10 to 1. That's how it's done. Okay. All right. So there's other situation questions you have to ask for your space, but let's move on. Problem awareness questions. What's a good problem awareness question you've learned to ask that causes the prospect to open up and go deeper about what's really going on compared to how they used to be closed off to you?
Oh, yeah. So, one that I've liked that I've been using a little bit more. Sorry about the jets, but I'll say like, well, John, just so that I can see the rationale behind why you might be doing this, besides blank, what's the main reason why you might be looking for and plugging what they want.
What's the typically the two blanks that you put in there for your industry?
Yeah.
You're getting
So
a generic version.
what they don't like is like so the first blank is more just like slow practice. They don't have a streamlined practice. It takes too long to diagnose things.
Okay.
Or they want to be able to scale their practice and they haven't been able to for the last year.
So John, just so I can see the rationale behind, why you're looking at this, but besides just wanting to like streamline the practice, what's the main reason why you're looking for possible outside help in growing the business rather than just trying to figure it all out on your own? Now, why
Right.
that's a rationale question. Why is the rationale question so important? There's really two reasons, and you might be too new to understand this yet because you've only been in the training for 25 days. But there's two reasons why we ask that rationale question. Do you know yet? I don't know if you've gone through that part yet.
I'm sure I have, but yeah, I don't know if I know both of them.
Okay, okay. Well, you're so new. You've already more than tripled your income. You still don't even know more than 1% yet. But that's a good thing. So you have a lot to look forward to. Instead of
Right.
making 25 grand a month once you learn everything, we have people in your industry that make 100,000 a month now.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You're on your way. All right. So the rationale question does two things. First, typically when you're in problem awareness questions, whatever they tell you is a problem that you get out of them from your first problem awareness questions is usually just the surface of what's really going on. Or it's just one problem or one reason why they might change. However, to build a gap, the more problems we can help them see that they have, that they didn't know they had, what happens to the gap? Gets much bigger. See? And the more reasons they tell themselves of what's holding them back from getting what they want, the bigger the gap and the bigger the what? The urgency for them to change. The less reasons, less of a gap, less urgency to change. So when I ask, like, besides blank, and I repeat back what they said, the first thing they said they wanted, besides that, we don't say that, but I repeat back what they said they wanted. What's the main reason why you're looking for? And I repeat back what you do rather than, and I repeat some dumb alternative that they could do. Does that make sense? So with your industry, I might say, rather than you just trying to figure it all out on your own, because that could be something that they do. They could just stay in the status quo and not do anything, right? Hope and pray for the best. So rather than getting at the end and saying, well, I'm going to keep looking around, things aren't too bad, I'm just going to kind of see what happens in the next year, which would be an objection you'll probably get in your industry. If I say, rather than you just, trying to, figure it all out yourself, and they say, well, the reason why I can't keep doing that is this, this, and this, I've just what? I've eliminated that objection. They can't then come back and say, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because they just told themselves why they can't. That's called objection prevention. So those are the two reasons why you ask the rationale question in that order. Because they'll tell you another reason while they're wanting to change. So now it's at least up to two problems, and there's more that we're going to find in solution awareness. But then the main thing is the alternative that you typically might lose a deal from. Now they tell themselves and you why they can't do that. See how we're getting them to do all the work? We're getting them to sell themselves. See that? Okay. All right. We're running out of time. Solution awareness question. What's a good solution awareness question you ask, and why does it work?
Yeah, I usually like to ask. There's a lot of people that they have a practice and either they want to grow it or they want to start a practice. And so I'll usually ask, okay, so, if money wasn't a problem, what does your dream practice look like? What does it look like for you? If what would you change about what you're doing now? And what does that look like? And
And why
just,
does that work so well?
it gets them to imagine where they wish they were and to really look at, what they would change now and why if money
Yeah.
wasn't a deal.
Gets them
So
to psychologically keep pulling you in. All right. And there's more solution awareness questions you have to ask, but let's move to consequence. What's a good consequence question you've learned how to ask?
yeah, so I usually would say like, so John, um, what would have you thought about the possible repercussions of not doing anything about this?
Yeah.
Or, a variant of that, have you thought about what would happen if you don't change anything?
What happens if you don't do anything about this and you keep staying stagnant like you have been? Like, what happens at that point? See that, and that's just off the tip of my head. I'd probably make it a lot more. Now, I want everybody to hear the tonality with this. But now, give me a problem that most of these prospects have, and I'll come up with a better consequence question for you than what you just asked because I know you're brand new in the course.
Yeah. like a problem that they usually will deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a bunch of modalities, we have a bunch of different devices, but it just takes too long. We don't have a lot of
What are the consequences of it taking so long, though?
we don't get to see as many people. We'd like to be able to see more to scale the practice. But
Okay, I have to compute that a little bit better. What happens? So, how would you ask that? I'm going to walk you through. What happens if you don't do anything about this, and what? What would you say?
and you don't get to see more clients, or you don't get the
What happens if you don't do anything about this, and you keep what? The problem is they're seeing less and less clients, right?
yeah.
And the consequence of that is
They don't get to grow their business
loss of
or
revenue. They don't get to scale.
right.
Okay. What happens if you don't do anything about this? And let's come up with this together. Help me out.
Yeah. So what happens if you don't do anything about this and you don't get to see more clients?
What happens now? I want you to pay attention to my tone, everybody. What happens, Sam? I'm going to start skeptical, like a skeptical, challenging tone, and then transition into a concern tone. What happens if you don't do anything about this? You keep seeing less patients, and now you can't scale the business. What happens then? See how my voice went from a skeptical, challenging tone then to a concern tone? Why would I want to end with a concern tone on that question? You might not know this yet because you're 25 days in.
Yeah. Well, that gets them to kind of talk to you about and convince you why
Well,
that is.
they become more open because it builds more trust because they feel like you're concerned for their situation.
Yeah.
It's a status flip as well because now they feel like you have more like the keys to the kingdom to get them there. Whereas most
Nice.
people are taught to like sell, 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 push, 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 overcome objections, rebuttals, and they get a few here and there. Numbers game. What we're doing is we're getting each prospect to do all the work, each prospect to do all the selling. And when they sell themselves, do you feel like you're possibly going to make more sales than you guys pushing and trying to chase after them and they just triggers more resistance? Yuck, gross. All right, we don't have time to keep going. I have a board meeting 1 minute ago, my quarterly board meeting with my shareholders and my business partners. Any last words of advice, Nate, for somebody that's looking in the training, whether they're like a brand new rookie that is just starting in sales or they're like a vet that's maybe already making six figures?
Well, yeah, like that comment from earlier that Mike, said. I used to feel the same way. I actually was like, yeah, everyone's got their training, everyone's got their different ways of improving, what you can do. But I just think it's just worth it to invest in yourself, to get those skills and to do it differently than like how it's been done for the last 100 years. Because yeah, it works a
But
lot
what happened is what would have happened if you didn't get into 3.0 26 days ago? What would your income be right now?
same as it has been. So
Six
one or
grand
two
a month,
sales a day. Yeah.
26 grand to 22 grand in less than 30 days. So, and I can assure you, because you haven't been here 30 days, you haven't even cracked 1% yet of
Right. Yeah.
what you're going to learn. Like,
Yeah.
continue on this pace, you'll be 50 grand a month, probably within about 4 months. And
That's my goal. Yeah.
if you keep on this
All I've been doing is just putting in the questions where I'm told to put them in and trying to work on the tonality,
yeah,
but there's
especially
no
your
longer to go.
tonality.
Yeah.
Once we work on your tone, especially, hopefully you get into advanced inner circle because that's when I get to work with you with your tonality and just tweaking your questions to make them even convert far higher. All right, good. All right, so you guys want to start acquiring these skills that Nate is still learning. He just got in here 25 days ago, but it already took him 6 grand to 21 grand in less than 30 days. And he doesn't know 1% yet, but he's doing good. He's going to keep learning. You want to acquire those skills like we're talking tens of thousands of our clients have at this point. Message me directly right now. So if you're in the Facebook group, LinkedIn, or the business page, or my Facebook, message me directly right now. If you're on YouTube, the Facebook group is right here. Just join that for free, salesrevolution.pro. There's a banner literally flying in purple here that you can see. Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro. There's my IG handle as well. Just join the Facebook group, message me directly right in there, and either myself or someone on team will message you back more details about our training that you can go through. Like Nate is in advanced NEPQ 3.0. That's a really good place to start. That's where most of our clients start. Most of the time they start there because you can't just jump into inner circle without at least going through 2.0 or advanced 3.0. But advanced 3.0 is probably where most of our clients start, probably 80% or 81, 82% right there. But you want to start acquiring those skills that Nate is starting to acquire right now. You can double, triple, quadruple what you're making. Message me directly right now, and we'll let you book with the team member and account manager that will go over all the different training programs that we have. Because we don't have like one or two; we have like 26 different versions. Nate, it was a pleasure. Keep learning, man. I'll see you on the next Tuesday group training call with your group. All right.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Thanks. See you soon. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here, right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.